Hey everyone, and welcome back to Season 2, Episode 8 of the Nichi Bei Café. It's Ryan, and I'm back with your co-host,
Jay here. As always, this monthly livestream program is brought to you by the Nichi Bei Foundation and Nichi Bei News through the benevolence of the Henry and Tomoya Takahashi Charitable Foundation. If you enjoy what we're doing here at the cafe, please be sure to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button on YouTube for more content just like this.
Also, hit that bell icon to be notified of any new content on our YouTube channel, and leave a like and comment down below if you have any suggestions for future episodes or just want to say hi. For today's show, we will be focusing on multicultural stories in our community and other treats as well. For our pastry selection, Nichi Bei Café talks to the owner of a local favorite that is sweeping across the nation, Bachan's barbecue sauce.
And for our salad selection, we get Gill Asakawa back with Kina Grannis on her thoughts on being mixed race.
For our chef special, we visit some folks in the Dodgers baseball organization who hold the pennant flag for multiracial and Japanese American representation in baseball.
For dessert, we bring back KOTA'S Kitchen, a new segment in the cafe where advertising manager and in-house Japanese cook Kota Morikawa shows you how to make a Japanese food on an electric skillet.
And stick around to be treated to some news bites that might be of interest to you and other NorCal locals.
Finally, we end the program tonight with tips of events that are coming up in the next month and beyond.
So without further delay, let's start the cafe. Starting off with our pastry selection tonight, Nichi Bei revisits a story we ran last year with Bachan's Japanese barbecue sauce founder Justin Gill, a multiracial fourth-generation Japanese American. Justin discusses how he created his popular sauce in tribute to his grandmother, or Bachan, which came of age during the pandemic.
As we saw a 116-year-old beloved business in our community close its doors, new legacies are born in our community as well. Akiko Managa caught up with Justin Gill, founder and CEO of Bachan's, a Sebastopol-based food business specializing in the family's secret sauce recipe from his beloved Bachan. Let's hear about Justin's story.
For our business, for our sauce, our brand is named Bachan's, and it's named after my Bachan. So before the war, she was living in Sebastopol, and she during the war was taken to Nihonmachi in Colorado, and after they were released, she came back actually to Sebastopol, and she lived along with her family on an apple ranch here in Sebastopol, the Perry Apple Ranch. She's who our brand is named after, and I'm honored to do that. And she's who taught my parents how to make our sauce, our multi-generational family sauce. And they all together taught me when I was a young kid. I just noticed, from a young age, how much people loved our family sauce, and just thought it would be really cool to bring it to market one day. So yeah, fast forward to about 2013, and I decided to kind of take a shot at bringing our sauce to market. And I went to all the co-packers here in Northern California, all the formulators, and I took them our family recipe. And I didn't know much about really anything about food production. I studied horticulture science in school. I talked to all the co-packers and formulators, and just saw a pattern develop really quickly that they all told me that to commercialize our family sauce, I would need to pasteurize it and then add water to it to bring the cost of the ingredients down. And so I tried that, and it just completely changed everything about the sauce. I mean, if I was gonna do this and it was gonna represent our family legacy, I wanted to make sure it was, had the integrity of the product that I grew up with and loved so much, and all of our family friends also loved. So I started to kind of work on formulating the sauce myself. Is perfecting everything, like it's just something that I've always done, and when I took my family to actually on a heritage trip. My wife is Cambodian. We went to Cambodia for 2 weeks, and then we went to Japan for 2 weeks after that. And it was in 2017. It was right kind of in the middle when I was getting very close to finishing, the sauce. And I went over to Japan, went to Kyoto, and went to Tokyo, and for the first time, and just had so many questions about myself answered. And I think one of the things that I really appreciated is just how much pride they took in their craft, and how much they had this singular focus, and so that just really kind of inspired me to a whole new level. When I got back from the trip, that's when I really started stepping on the gas. And having a little background in science, I was able to, over about a 2-year period, just doing it on the side, I was able to finally figure out how to make our sauce cold filled and shelf stable. And during that time, I actually elevated the ingredients that we used growing up and sourced, the best ingredients in the world. I took that back to the same co-packers, and none of them wanted to take on the business. And one of them in particular, as I was telling them about all these ingredients that I sourced and how great they were, he kind of stopped me in my tracks and said, listen, your ingredients don't matter. And all that matters is how much money you have to market this product. So I disagreed with him and left their facility. And actually, today our tagline is something we had trademarked from that period, is our ingredients matter. So after that, I went down to Southern California, couldn't find anyone here in Northern Cal, and found a co-packer that would take on the business that I thought would, meet the quality standards that I had. And my wife and I went down on our 15-year wedding anniversary, got our first production run done, brought the pallets back, and started selling right away. We went and did, demos at local stores here, started selling out on the shelf. We launched a website, started selling direct to consumer. Everything was going really well, and then the pandemic, hit, and we started, shipping from our home. Our kids were all home, so we used to pack the orders at our house. My Bachan would come over, and my mom, and we'd get everything boxed up, and then I would take a drive down to the post office with my kids, and we unload all the packages, and we were doing that a few times a week. And then we started doing it every day, and then our whole house kind of turned into a distribution center, and then ended up closing 2020 with really strong sales with our original Japanese barbecue sauce. And then 2021, we introduced some new SKUs, some new products to the market. We brought out a gluten-free version, a hot and spicy, and then a yuzu. Part of doing this business for me, one part was for my family legacy, to also teach my kids, what you can do, what you can achieve in the world if you work really hard and believe in yourself and keep persevering. And the other part was to be able to share Japanese American culture, with the rest of the world. And that's something that we do with intention, and something that we do in I think a very inclusive way. So that has been awesome, and that's something I saw my family do growing up. My Bachan, my Jichan, my auntie and uncles, they shared their culture and would have their friends, from all different cultures over, and so to be able to do that and carry that forward is meaningful for me too. So there's a lot of them. They're just little sayings and things that I picked up on and remembered throughout my whole life that my Bachan would tell me, and my brothers and sisters. One of them is the world is your oyster, and she still writes that. And so does my mom, actually, on all of our birthday cards and Christmas cards and things.
And Bachan's Japanese barbecue sauce continues to be the pearl from Sebastopol. This is Greg Gloria for Akiko Minaga for the Nichi Bei Café.
Thanks to our contributing writer Akiko Minaga and our producer Greg Valoria for putting together that sampling of Bachan's intriguing beginnings. And thanks to Bachan's for supporting our Northern California Soy and Tofu Festival for the past 2 years now. You can now find Bachan's miso flavor at your local store or at bachans.com.
Next, we continue to fill our belly with more stories. For our salad, we have a story from Gill Asakawa's interview with singer-songwriter Kina Grannis that we shot in the spring. Kina, who is the Grand Marshal of the Northern California Cherry Blossom Festival Parade, talks about how she views being a multiracial Japanese American.
Somewhere on the day came out crying. My dog came by, had gotten in the way. I couldn't find me. Sad open your eyes. You've got a good thing going.
Thanks so much for being here. My name is Gill Asakawa. I'm a special correspondent for the Nichi Bei News and Nichi Bei Café, and I'm here with singer-songwriter Kina Grannis. And yeah, it's so cool to have you here.
It's so
And
great to be here.
yeah.
Hajimemashite.
Hi, hajimemashite. Actually, that will factor into a question I have for you later.
Okay, great.
About your upbringing and some stuff about culture. So, but thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course.
Can I ask, is your mom Japanese American? Is she Nisei or Sansei or?
She, sorry. So let's see. Okay, first I'm going to insert a random fact before I forget, which is that my mom, after she grew up on Oahu, and then when she was in middle school, I think she and her mother and sister moved to the Bay Area. And when my mom was, I don't remember what age, I have the date somewhere, her mother forced her to be in like the cherry blossom pageant. And my mom is not a beauty pageant type person. She's like, doesn't like people to look at her and is super silly and not serious at all. But she was in the like San Francisco cherry blossom pageant years ago. So when I told my mom that I was going to be part of this, she just bursted out into laughter. She's like, I can't believe this. I have to tell your aunt. Oh my gosh. So my grandmother, it's a very unconventional Japanese name that we called her. We called her Obaba-sama growing up, which is like, oh, mighty grandmother essentially. But she was like, oh my gosh, Obaba-sama would have like loved this so much because it was her city and it's a thing they were involved in. And my grandmother came to Hawaii when she was, I think, 20-ish. So she was from Tokyo and she married a Japanese American who was born in Hawaii. So my mom was then born in Hawaii. So yeah, she had like an interesting mix where one parent was very, very Japanese and the other, well, of course, also very Japanese, but a different brand of Japanese, one from Japan and one from Hawaii.
Yeah, I can identify with that. My dad was born and raised in Hawaii, and my mom is from Hokkaido. So, and they met during the Korean War, and I understand that dynamic, that cultural dynamic of being American and being Japanese.
Yeah.
But when you talk about not being very personal or emotional, that is so Japanese, right? You don't talk about this stuff. You don't talk about wartime incarceration. You don't talk about being sick. You don't talk about your problems. You don't bring attention to yourself.
Yeah.
And you're kind of being the anti-Japanese.
Let's talk about all our feelings. Yeah, it's interesting.
I think that's great. I think good for you. we need more of us to be comfortable with our voice
Mm.
and share what's going on in our lives and in our hearts, I think. I want to ask a little bit, Crazy Rich Asians, between that and Fresh Off the Boat, those two pop culture elements really started an avalanche, right? That and Always Be My Maybe.
Mhm.
And, everything has led to things like Shang-Chi and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, what a great moment it is right now for Asian American, Pacific Islander, Native Hawaiian, um, you know, artists and arts. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, you were part of that. Part of that also is your multiracial heritage. Can you talk a little bit about growing up multiracial in Southern California? Of course, Orange County is pretty diverse, lots of Asians.
Yeah. So for me, growing up multiracial, or Hapa, as I kind of was the identity I grew up with. My dad is Caucasian, my mom being Japanese. Um, for me, I feel really lucky. It was only ever a wonderful thing. And I know for some people it can be confusing and conflicting. And for me, it felt like the best of both worlds. Like I just got to call more of the planet my own. And I loved growing up with the Japanese things that I did, and with the food and the culture and a tiny bit of the language. My mom doesn't speak Japanese, but my grandmother does, and there's some phrases and words that we always used around the house. I loved kind of just getting to go through the world, having this special thing that I got to be a part of, and whenever I found other people that were mixed race too, it kind of felt like I have these little radars like bing, bing, bing. Oh my gosh, you're like me. You're confusing looking. Like people don't know what you are. I guess that's one interesting thing about being mixed race is that y- whether it's a good or bad thing, people don't really know what to make of you right off the bat. And in some ways, it makes you a little bit of a chameleon. Like growing up, some people thought that I was Hispanic. It wasn't until later that some people were like, "Oh, I think you're part Asian," even though it was something that I felt inside of myself. But yeah, I think as I've grown too, it's been beautiful to get to be part of more communities. Growing up, I had some of my best friends were Asian growing up, but there was not a ton in my community growing up, and my Japanese side of my family is actually really small. It was my aunt and my grandmother, and that was kind of it. We have some distant family in Japan, but we didn't really get to see them. So, getting into college, and I found another best friend who was Japanese there, and then after college through YouTube, finding this huge Asian community through YouTube, and getting to connect to more of that side of myself has been really, really beautiful, and I'm just so grateful for it too.
So your Hapa, that means your daughter, right? You have a daughter?
Mhm.
Your daughter is Kwapa.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
and I think that's very cool. The Japanese American community since the 1970s has had the highest outmarriage rate of any
Wow.
Asian population ethnicity in the US.
Oh,
So there are more Kwapas and, uh, 1/5 Japanese Americans now than there
yeah.
used to be. Hapa is very common now. So, um, and I see like on TV and in movies. So this back to acting. Uh, there seem to be lots more opportunities for mixed race Asian actors
Mhm.
with roles. So just keep that in mind. Got
Yeah.
some opportunities coming up.
Yeah.
And have you been to Japan?
I have, yeah. Let's see. The first time I ever went to Japan was when I was 12, and my grandmother, she decided early on that when each one of me and my sisters turned 12, she was going to take us to Japan with her for a month. So my older sister had already gone and done that adventure. And when I turned 12, my grandmother took me, and it was a really, I'd never been out of the country, and then to go to Japan for a month, I think half of it was kind of exploring Tokyo and Kyoto, but then the other half, I think it was half, I had a really, really cool experience where my grandmother had some close friends that lived in Chichibu, and we got to go live with their family. And my grandmother actually left then, but I stayed with this family and I went to school. I don't know if it was for 1 week or 2 weeks, but I went to school in Japan and I spoke no Japanese. It was a very interesting experience, but getting to be plopped like right in the middle of what really is Japanese culture, what is Japanese school like, what are Japanese kids like, was so fascinating and so amazing. Like, just the way that the Japanese kids welcomed me in, even though we couldn't communicate at all, and just looking through their desks to give me omiyage, and really welcoming me, and getting to see how Japanese people treat their schools. It was really beautiful. Just like everybody cleaned and everybody cooked, and that was just part of everybody's job. Um, so I think, that was a huge, huge dose of Japan when I was young. That was really impactful and very cool. Then I didn't go back until I was in my probably mid to late 20s when I went for music for the first time. Is that right? Maybe I went with my sisters once before that, and then I went back to start playing shows there. And I I think every time I go, I have just fallen more and more in love with it. Um, I don't know. I think as I get older, I appreciate nature more and more too. And just everything about Japan is so beautiful. So I love going back. And my family and I went back to Japan maybe 4 years ago. The whole family got to go. And my mom hadn't gone since she was 20, and my dad had never been. So that was very cool to get to experience it as a whole family. And yeah, we ate a lot and it was really great. I guess it was maybe like 6 months ago at this point that my mom's doctors told us, I what we are recommending is that she needs to have a blood stem cell transplant as soon as possible while she is still strong. That is her best chance. And that was kind of this huge wake up call for my family and I. We were like, okay, well, if that's her best chance, then we we need to make sure that she has a chance. And um, they started looking, and at this point, my mom in the entire global registry has no match, and that was like this huge fire lit under us. And I feel so grateful that I have any online presence at all, because I have this opportunity to spread the message and get the word out. And, we've talked a little bit about it, but Asians are underrepresented in the registry. And so for people like my mom who need a transplant to save their life, they just sometimes can't find them. And it's so frustrating when if you could just get every Asian person, every Japanese person to just swab their cheek, that my mom and hundreds and eventually thousands more people would be saved because of a simple act like that. And so we've just been thinking about this these past months, like, how do we spread this message? How do we let people know how easy it is to potentially save someone's life? And we've been doing all this work online to spread the word.
I'm so glad that you have this vehicle to help your mom and to help others. And, I'm sure we all send our best wishes to your mom.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I hope it works out, and that more people sign up, and that you find a donor. So, yeah. So, Kina, thank you so much for joining us and spending this much time with us. And love your music, love your message, love the work that you do in the community. and what you're doing for Asian Americans as a whole and for Japanese Americans. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. It's been lovely talking to you, and I'm very grateful that you guys are helping and getting this message out too. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Help Kina and her mother, as well as countless others, by registering to be a donor with Be The Match, which is a community of donors, volunteers, healthcare professionals, and researchers who deliver cures by helping patients get the life-saving marrow transplant they need. Register at bethematch.org.
Thanks to Gill for doing that interview, and please continue to support Kina and her mom. We need to get more people registered on the Be The Match National Marrow Registry in order to help people like Kina's mother, who is currently battling blood cancer.
For our chef special tonight, we head to Los Angeles in the Japanese American National Museum, where Los Angeles Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, the first ethnic minority manager of the storied Dodgers baseball franchise, talks about his career alongside other multiracial Dodgers staff of Japanese descent.
On July 29, 2023, the Japanese American National Museum hosted an event in the Tateuchi Democracy Forum called Beyond the Dugout, a discussion with Japanese American staff at the Los Angeles Dodgers. The event was a lively and inspirational Q&A with the Dodgers World Series champion manager Dave Roberts, play-by-play broadcaster Steven Nelson, Senior Director of Team Travel Scott Akasaki, Director of Integrative Baseball Performance, Emily Fragapani, and Manager of Performance Operations, Will Ireton. The event was a celebration of Japanese and Japanese American contribution to the Dodgers, as well as baseball as a whole in the modern era. Baseball has always had a strong presence and influence in the Japanese American community. Japan had embraced baseball as far back as the 1800s, so many Japanese immigrants in the U.S. had a family history of enjoying and playing the sport. During World War II, when people of Japanese ancestry were imprisoned in American concentration camps, many camps, including Heart Mountain and Manzanar, had their own baseball teams. The sport was an outlet for prisoners who were forcibly removed from their homes. Despite immense talent in the prison communities, the inmates' detained status prevented them from achieving major league success during wartime. Fast forward over 80 years later, and players and staffers of Japanese descent have helped make Major League Baseball in the U.S. the successful sport it is today. Players like Hideo Nomo, Masanori Murakami, Norihiro Nakamura, Yu Darvish, Kenta Maeda, and Shohei Ohtani are just a few of many renowned MLB players of Japanese ancestry who have graced the All-American pastime. Among these players is Dave Roberts, who played for the Dodgers from 2002 to 2004 and is now the manager who led them to a World Series championship win in 2020. Roberts is half black, half Japanese, and spoke about his role as a biracial public figure in baseball.
As far as being biracial, I feel the sense of responsibility that I've got to do things the right way because a lot of people are counting on me. And so I definitely don't consider myself a pioneer. I think I do a good job of trying to stay in the moment every day, whether it's a good thing or bad thing. I don't look back. I don't kind of contextualize what I've done or what I potentially could do. It's always about we, and it's always about this moment. But I will say that every day, I feel that if I don't do things the right way, Asian Americans, Japanese Americans, however you want to categorize it, African Americans, minorities, whatever you want to say, will be affected in some way. So I think that it's a burden, it's a responsibility, it's something I certainly embrace.
Steven Nelson, who is also half Japanese, was the only Asian American play-by-play broadcaster working for a major league team upon joining the Dodgers in January of 2023. He felt Roberts played a role in his new position.
You have to have people in positions of power who are advocating for Japanese Americans, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, people of color in general. And I say that to get to Doc because you were that for me. I do not have this job, I don't think, without the support of Dave behind the scenes.
Scott Akasaki, Senior Director of Team Travel for the Dodgers, has a profound relationship with the Japanese American National Museum, as his parents were imprisoned in American concentration camps during World War II.
My mom and her family, they went to the Buddhist temple across the way, where this museum stands. And so my parents were in camp. My mom was 1 and my dad was 5. So growing up, Japanese American history has been a huge part of my life. I was an intern here at the museum. And so having that throughout my life has never been forgotten. And so when I started working for the Dodgers about 20 plus years ago, it was always something that I carried with me.
Director of Integrative Baseball Performance, Emily Fragapani, spoke on the uniqueness of being a woman, and specifically a woman of color, in the male-dominated MLB. She grew up in a mostly white community and was encouraged by her parents and Japanese grandmother to always be herself.
The number of women in baseball has increased exponentially, along with women of color and just generally representation in baseball. In terms of, where I would like things to go, I think having the representation, the more visible representation is great, and it really helps you see that it's a possibility that's there for you. What I hope for the future is continuing to see that grow in positions where maybe it's non-traditional positions, but where you see that there are places that you can be and that you can go that are impactful, right? And so that's why it's great to see Kim being in this position, but to see that we can have not just a place, but also an impact on the sport and where it goes.
Will Ireton joined the Dodgers in 2016 as the interpreter for Japanese pitcher Kenta Maeda. He was born and raised in Japan and is now the Dodgers' manager of performance operations. He says Japanese culture has influenced the way he approaches his work on the team.
I think in our Japanese culture, we talk about reading the room, and I think that's a value that's not really preached exactly in this country. I think in baseball, we talk about that, like reading the room and just being aware of the people in the room, where they're at mentally. I think that's something that really helped me navigate this workspace, and just my work environment.
The conversation encompassed topics from scouting Japanese and other minority players to the league, to the history of players of Japanese ancestry in the MLB, and everything in between. The need to continue to include minority players in the game was a highlight of the talk, and Roberts himself had much to say about his role as a prominent biracial figure to minority communities in the U.S.
I just saw myself as a baseball guy, a team that's managing a great franchise, and that was my role. But it quickly changed into social issues, and I've certainly stayed out of the political realm, but the social issues on life and what's right. And I realized really quickly that I had a platform, and it kind of goes back to the responsibility of advocating on what's right and what's not right. And so, the Asian hate crimes, that could be my mom, my aunts and uncles, and I've been victim of it. And so, I've kind of embraced that responsibility again to speak up and not just be silent. And there's ramifications and people that I have to answer to, but I think in certain things that I just believe so strongly that it supersedes just my job, because my job is to speak on what I believe, and I gotta be, as Emily said, you gotta be true to yourself. And so I manage the Dodgers, but that's not who I am. And so when I do get opportunities to speak up and sound off, I have been more vocal.
Thanks to Nichi Bei contributor Akira Olivia Kumamoto for that insightful report from Los Angeles. And although we're based in San Francisco, we applaud the Dodgers for their inclusivity of those from the Nikkei community.
On to our dessert, we are so proud to present KOTA'S Kitchen, a new Nichi Bei Café segment that demonstrates that quality Japanese food can be made from just a simple electric skillet. Chef Kota shows you how to make food from the Nichi Bei office.
In this episode, Kota teaches us how to make a Nichi Bei office favorite, Mabo Nasu. A delicacy during the fall in Japan, he shows how easy it is to cook this from your dorm room to your office.
I don't even work here.
But
I show up to get fed.
Oh.
Yahoo! Welcome to KOTA'S Kitchen. Today we are going to cook Mabo Nasu. The main character is the eggplants. So this is a casual office cooking show that you can cook in your office setting and then to feed your friends in your office, colleagues in your office. So no more waiting. Let's get started. Alright, first we are going to use sesame oil on the electric skillet, and this is about 200 degrees. And this is a casual office cooking, so I just put about. And next we are putting chopped garlic and ginger. This is something you can prepare at home. So today I'm about to feed like 15 people, so this is the amount. We are adding ground pork. It might take some time to cook. Alright, so ground pork is about the middle halfway. Let's put the salt. Little bit. Oh, it's a fancy salt. Alright, meat is about to done. Next, we are adding cut vegetables, peppers. Oh, talking about peppers, so I have still lots of seeds in, and lots of people when you cook peppers, take the seeds out, but seeds are totally edible, and then this is have lots of nutrients. This is just a story from a long time ago. So Mabo is a lady called Mabo in somewhere in China, and this lady just was cooking for her family, and then she put so many things and then put other ingredients that I'm going to show later. And came out pretty good, and people I think named the food Mabo something. So this one, the main character is eggplant, so Mabo Nasu. Let's put cut eggplants. Alright, now my favorite vegetable, green onion, coming in. This green onion makes every single food just tastes so much better. So it is time to put sauces. So first, oyster sauce. This is the most important ingredients. Tenmenjang, 3 tablespoons. Right, next, 3 is sake, cooking sake. Now soy sauce, again 3 tablespoons. This is another sauces, tobanjang. This will make Mabo Nasu a little bit spicy, so I just use maybe 3 teaspoons. Right, next we are putting a chicken stock. Now you gotta mix well. Right, now it's nicely mixed, so I will put cover on it and then let's wait for 5-10 minutes. Let's see. Ooh, So now eggplants, especially the eggplants and peppers are soft enough. The sauce is thick enough, but I'll put just cornstarch to make it extra thick so that it's easy to cook, and you can put the food over the rice. So it's a starch and water. You mix together, and then before you put the starch in, you like to turn off the heat so it doesn't start to thick quick. Right, I'll put probably half of it, and then you wanna mix quick. Alright, this is almost done in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jajan! Mabo Nasu. Nasu is eggplants. We chose eggplants because eggplants is a summer vegetable and they're also going to fall too. So please, if you watch this Mabo Nasu cooking show today, please try it at home. And then if you like to please your friends at work, thank you for watching. And let's have fun, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for this month's episode of the Nichi Bei Café. If you want to see more of my column, Origami Now, where I show you step-by-step instructions on how to do wonderful models like this and this, please consider subscribing to the Nichi Bei News. Thanks for joining us for this month's episode of the Nichi Bei Café.
Next is our News Bites, highlighting events over the past month, including stories from the pages of the Nichi Bei News.
Wow. First off, we featured the 50th anniversary of KANE, or the Committee Against Nihonmachi Evictions. Some 250 people, former KANE members, past residents, and former merchants, some even coming from as far away as the East Coast in Japan, gathered at the Japanese Cultural and Community Center of Northern California on August 19th. They were there to celebrate the 50th anniversary of KANE's movement to counter the city's forced relocation of residents and businesses from San Francisco's Japantown. More than a dozen speakers reflected on their KANE experiences and spoke on the impact that the organization had on their lives and San Francisco's Nihonmachi, or Japantown. Entertainment was provided by Jiten Daiko and AK Black with Francis Wong. An audience sing-along was led by William Tamayo, Robert Kikuchi Ngojo, and Peter and Wendy Horikoshi. Also featured was a photo and artifacts exhibit by Lucien Kubo and a trailer for a new documentary entitled Gambaro, The Fight for the Final 4 Blocks, being produced by Boku Korama. The Sansei Legacy Trust Fund was initiated by the organizing committee for the 50th anniversary of KANE. These funds will be used in collaboration with community groups working to upgrade buildings for uses that benefit community services and construct affordable housing and retail spaces. For more information, visit sanseilegacy.org.
San Francisco's Japantown recently witnessed the opening of 2 new eateries on the Buchanan Mall, also known as Osaka Way, as both Matsuyama Shabu House and Fermentation Lab opened their doors in August. Karsten Say and his business partners celebrated the official grand opening on August 18th of Matsuyama Shabu House, a new restaurant located at the former Shabu-sen spot along Buchanan Mall, or Osaka Way, in San Francisco's Japantown. The event was marked with a ribbon cutting, balloons, and samples. The ribeye cap is one of the restaurant's highlights, which is used for sushi, sashimi style, and shabu items. He added that he wanted to introduce new shabu concepts to people, including different soup bases. On the northwest corner of Buchanan and Post, and under the Japantown Nihonmachi sign, is Fermentation Lab. Owner Jeannie Kim, who owns Sam's American Eatery and the original Fermentation Lab on Market Street, characterized her Japantown location menu as global comfort food and tapas style, with small bite dishes featuring a mix of Japanese, Korean, Polish, and other European dishes as well. This unique fusion of flavors boasts a menu of tasty menchikatsu burgers, beer-battered onion rings, and duck confit tacos. The lab also offers okonomiyaki fries, tebasaki chicken wings, and pickles, as well as signature cocktails. Currently open from 4 p.m. to midnight, Tuesdays through Sundays. Fermentation Lab plans on opening for breakfast in the near future.
Next, we turn to the American pastime of baseball, starting with the 2023 California State AA Japanese American Baseball Tournament in Lodi, California over the Labor Day weekend. 4 teams from Southern California, including 2 teams from Gardena and 2 teams from Little Tokyo, traveled north to face 4 teams from Northern California: San Francisco, Florin, Monterey, and Lodi. The championship game was held on September 4th, where the Gardena Rebels beat the Little Tokyo Giants 12-8 at Yamashita Field in Kofu Park. Gardena Rebels co-MVPs were pitcher Eddie Haas and slugger Jeffrey Smith. Meanwhile, the second Nichi Bei Day with the A's was held on September 2nd at the Oakland Coliseum, where the Oakland A's hosted two-way Japanese superstar Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Angels. Ohtani, who recently sustained an injury that derailed his pitching endeavors, leads the majors with 44 home runs but went 0 for 2 with 3 walks, 2 intentional. Uzumaru, a Yosokoi dance group based in San Jose, performed on the field before the game, bringing their energetic and colorful performance to more than 650 people who attended the fundraiser through the Nichi Bei Foundation.
KOHO, a nonprofit arts organization based in San Francisco's Japantown, presented its second annual BonPop event on August 26th, featuring live music, Bon Odori dancing, a yukata remix contest, and memorial lanterns in San Francisco Japantown's Peace Plaza. The event featured music by Genryu Arts and the Ensoza Japanese Folk Ensemble, as well as dance by Ito Yosoki.
And we close our news bites with yet another 50th anniversary celebration, as the Japanese Bilingual Bicultural program at Rosa Parks Elementary School recently held a press conference on the day that 50 years ago launched the Japanese culture-infused elementary school. The JBBP at Rosa Parks Elementary School got the biggest birthday party ever September 5th, as the entire school, with guests from the Japanese and Japanese American community, came together for their morning assembly. Students, staff, and guests celebrated the birthday early in the morning during the school's morning assembly, starting with Radio Taiso and a series of speeches by government and program leaders. A group of community members organized in February of 1973 to convince the San Francisco Unified School District of the need for a bilingual program from kindergarten through 2nd grade. Originally started at Dr. William L. Cobb Elementary School in 1973, the JBVP then moved 11 different times before finding its current home at Rosa Parks Elementary School in San Francisco, Japantown in 2006.
For more up-to-date news like this, please be sure to subscribe to the Nichi Bei News, carrying on a legacy of 124 years of community leadership through media at www.nichibei.org/subscribe.
Many thanks to Koto-san for that recipe. Next up, we will present a calendar of upcoming events for the next couple of months. But first, we would like to thank everyone for continuing to support our YouTube channel, and we hope that you enjoy our future content featuring our Japanese and Japanese American community.
So continue to support us by telling your friends, family, and loved ones to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that they don't miss a single episode of our program, as well as video segments from the show and other special videos in between. So that said, it's time for tonight's tips, which will include our community calendar. But first, we want to mention that Brenda Wong Aoki and Mark Izu of First Voice are having an event on September 30th and October 1st at the Presidio Theater in the Presidio. Here's a preview and info on how you can join them.
Without thinking, he grabbed her hair and pulled her full mouth to his. Well, almost, and the ocean! Spring lies in the east, fall in the west.
And before we run the tips, we want to remind you of the next Nichi Bei pilgrimage to Wakamatsu Tea and Silk Farm Colony on October 7th, with buses being launched from 4 Northern California cities. You can hang out with Ryan in real life. Let's run the preview.
Arguable. Well, everyone, thanks so much for joining us for our 8th episode of Season 2. And another big thanks to Jay for being our co-host for tonight.
No, thank
you. You loved it. No, I know you loved it.
Thanks, Ryan. I really enjoyed being a part of the cafe today and keeping the community connected, informed, and empowered.
Of course. We hope that you enjoyed our show today as well, and wish you and your family a great rest of September. At this point, we want to say another big thanks to the Henry and Tomoya Takahashi Charitable Foundation for their continued support of the cafe. We, again, greatly appreciate our collaboration with you in finding new ways to engage with our Nikkei community. So in this episode, we celebrated stories about multiraciality and local Japanese-American food. We hope that you enjoyed what we, and of course all of our featured chefs, cooked up from the cafe menu today.
Thanks again for joining us at the Nichi Bei Café.